And welcome back to What America's Thinking. During the State of the Union address, President Biden spent a lot of time talking about infrastructure, the economy, and healthcare. We looked at a Reuters Ipsos core political survey, which found that Americans want immigration to be a major priority for the Biden administration. It is topped only by the economy.
So when it comes to the handling of immigration, most voters disapprove of President Biden's performance, with only 28% expressing their approval. But the issue was only addressed for roughly 1 minute during the State of the Union. So we're joined now by two congressmen, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart of Florida and Congressman Tony Gonzales of Texas. Congressman, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
So I'd like to hear both of your takes, Congressman. We're now in a House where your Republican colleagues are more focused on oversight of the Biden administration on immigration. Democrats are very pessimistic that they can pass things that have had bipartisan support in the past. So is the Congressional Hispanic Conference the key that unlocks that door that makes it possible to move somewhere on immigration?
I'll start. Rafael, one of the frustrating parts is, Democrats had the House last cycle, they had the Senate, and they had the White House, and they did nothing on immigration, absolutely nothing. And now we have a divided government, and now they're blaming Republicans for everything that's wrong. There is absolutely blame on everybody on why this hasn't, Dreamers and DACA and securing our border and work visas, all these things that make sense to many of us, why that hasn't gotten done. Mario has been up here, long enough to see the different pitfalls. The way I look at it is, one, my district stretches from San Antonio to El Paso. It's 42% of the southern border. The places like Uvalde, Del Rio, Eagle Pass, El Paso, they're in the news every single day. And I can't wait, the people that I represent can't wait 10 years for a solution. We need solutions today. I do think there is an incredible opportunity with the Hispanic Conference, where for the first time, we have 18 members. So it is a significant amount in this Congress. 5 votes equals 100. And we can tackle some of the tough issues. It starts, though, by having a dialogue. We're all different. We all represent different areas. But what are the areas we can work on and build out from there? And it's also about being bold and not allowing the status quo to just take hold. We have to do things a little differently if we expect to get different results.
But Congressman Gonzales, yes, Congressman Gonzales, is there a divide within the Republican conference as to how to go ahead on immigration? I know that you've spoken out against Congressman Chip Roy's asylum ban. Do you see any progress being made or any potential for progress being made between maybe some of the more conservative far-right members in the conference and yourself?
First off, border security and immigration are two separate topics. They're related, but they're two separate topics. It's important, everyone should be against fentanyl in our country. Folks on the terrorist watch list, bad actors, everyone. I don't care where you fall on the philosophical spectrum. We should all be united in preventing that from happening. And that's what you see within the Republican Party. On immigration, we're a nation of immigrants. Give us your poor, your tired, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free, but it has to be through the front door, and that system is completely broken. The rule of law doesn't exist along the border. How do we strengthen those areas? So one of the things that I absolutely push back, Mario, the same. There's many of us in the House, and not just Hispanic members, that will push back against anti-immigrant legislation, like the Border Safety and Security Act, that has a great name, but fails to meet the mark. The Republican Party can't be hijacked with an anti-immigrant message. When we just had Juan Ciscomani, a first-generation American, deliver an incredible rebuttal to the State of the Union. How are we going to, in the same breath, put forward anti-immigration legislation on the floor and masquerade it at border security? Can't be allowed to happen. I won't let it happen.
Now, I just want to remind, when you say first generation, he was born in Mexico and naturalized American.
Naturalized. I'm sorry. Yeah, he was 16 years old when he was naturalized. Yeah. This is an incredible story. So you're absolutely right. This isn't, and this is the face of the Republican Party. This is, the reason why we have 18 members in the Hispanic Conference for the first time is because we are winning in seats like this. The Republican Party can't take a step back by allowing anti-immigrant rhetoric to come forward. Do we need to secure the border? 100%. We are all committed to doing exactly just that.
Now,
If I may also,
yeah.
Julia and Rafael, one of the, so by the way, two things on we already spoken about Juan Ciscomani. He's also the only freshman to get on the Appropriations Committee, and that says a lot about how he has impressed all of his colleagues. He's someone to just keep an eye on because he's a superstar. Look, there is a consensus clearly among Republicans that we have, before we do anything else, we have to secure the border. And that's something that we're working on. And so I feel very optimistic that we're going to be able to reach a consensus on that issue. But I also want to talk about what Tony mentioned a little while ago. And he's right. I've been involved in pretty much every meeting and every negotiation dealing with immigration or border, ad nauseum. And I will remind everybody that the Democrats have never done it. They've always talked about it. They always talk a good game about, helping immigrants, helping immigration, securing our border, but they've always refused to do so. And Rafael, you know that even when we had a bipartisan group and the Democrats controlled House, Senate, and White House before now, which they did again for the last 2 years, but when they did that before, the Democrats killed a bipartisan effort. So that is their record. I feel really confident that we're going to be able to have a consensus bill that deals with the border. And then obviously we have a lot of other issues that we're going to be focusing on. And it's important to know that the Hispanic Conference, this group of Republicans, we're obviously involved in that issue. Tony represents the majority of the border, but we're involved in every other important issue that this country is facing because the Hispanics in this country have the same concerns and the same problems that every other person has. Inflation, gasoline prices, the fact that a dozen eggs now is a luxury item, right? The fact that we are now dependent and the president is begging countries like Venezuela and Iran for more oil while stopping our own production of energy in the United States. We're focused on all of those issues, but I think we're also going to be the key for securing the border.
So one quick thing, how do we define securing the border? Is it the Secure Fence Act, zero crossings, zero smuggling?
We're actually working on that. And, it's never going to be zero, but it has to be controlled. And right now, and by the way, and here's another part of it. Right now, this president, this administration has given control. The folks who make the decision as to who comes in to the United States across the southern border are the cartels, are these narco-terrorist cartels. So we have to, in essence, take away the power. I think we got to do more. I think we have to destroy those cartels. But so there are some things that are pretty easy to understand. We have to take away the power from the cartels, empower our law enforcement agencies, make sure that we have a secure border. We can do that, and we're working. But this conference, by the way, is going to be key in getting that done.
Congressman Diaz.
Rafael, one thing that I would add, one thing that is certain, H.R. 29, the Border Safety and Security Act, is not securing the border, and that is dead on arrival. That bill is not going to go anywhere for a wide variety of reasons, and I will do everything in my power to prevent anti-immigrant legislation from getting over the finish line. Because ultimately, my district, we need help today. We don't need a messaging bill that has no chance of going anywhere, and then that doesn't help. That doesn't help move the ball one bit. So much more to happen in this. Part of it is it going into regular order, making it out of the Homeland Security Committee and elsewise. But Republicans will put together a border security plan, and I'm looking forward to being part of that.
Congressman Diaz-Balart, I have to ask, in your home state of Florida, there seems to be a continuing battle happening between Tallahassee and Mar-a-Lago. It seems like the tension is rising between the governor and former President Trump. Wanted to get your sense on how the governor has been responding to the former president. He seems to be focusing on his record, whether that's his policy successes or his electoral successes, but wanted to get your sense as the dynamic forming and what your constituents are thinking about all of this.
Yeah, Julia, I haven't been looking at what is said about one candidate or another. I will tell you that Governor DeSantis has done an amazing job, right? And you don't have to take my word for it or his word for it. Look how people are voting with their feet, right? Everybody is coming to Florida. It is the place that is the envy of not only the United States, but of the world. And that's due to Republican policies. Most of those policies, and I think a lot of those policies pushed for by Governor DeSantis. His record stands for itself. I don't get involved, and I just don't pay attention, Julia, as to what is said. I will tell you this though, and I'm going to make a bold prediction. I'm convinced that the next president of the United States is going to be a resident of Florida.
Okay.
Fair enough. Congressman Gonzales, I feel like there's at least one resident of Texas who doesn't agree with that prediction or doesn't like it. How much is this sort of preemptive, very long race to 2024? How much is it changing, maybe hurting, maybe helping governance in states that are having economic success like Florida and Texas?
No, I think it highlights Florida and Texas are doing something right, and how do we expand that to the rest of the country? It's how do we use that secret sauce and repeat that? Once again, when we start talking about presidential races, though, I'm focused on the House. I am focused on us delivering for the American people through the House. It's so easy. You see it all the time that the House punts to the executive branch and then blames the executive branch for everything that's wrong. I want us to gain power, not cede our power. And regardless of who is running, regardless of who's in the White House, regardless of who wins or loses, we as members of the House of Representatives are ultimately delivering, especially on the tough topics. There's a reason why immigration hasn't been, accomplished in decades. There's a reason why border security remains an issue. I mean, these are the type of things that consumes a lot of Mario and I's time. And if we get distracted with the shiny objects of the day, then it's even who else is going to take up the mantle on some of these tough topics that require, a daily energy.
Well, Congressman Mario Diaz-Balart and Congressman Tony Gonzales, thank you so much for your time. We know you're sitting down with us before you fly out to your home district, so have a safe journey back home.
Thank you so much.
No place like home. Thank you.
So I guess the only question left there is Speaker Kevin McCarthy going to take sides with Chip Roy or with Tony Gonzales?
That's a really good question because immigration is so much, has formed so much of the Republican response to Biden, and it's a weak spot for Biden, quite frankly, and it's a Republican strength. The issue for Kevin McCarthy and Republicans now is that there's such a divide in the party, and also Kevin McCarthy, while he has to obviously appease the Tony Gonzaleses and the Mario Diaz-Balarts, he's also under pressure from the Chip Roys and from the far-right conservatives of the caucus. I mean, remember, this was the group that delayed him from becoming Speaker 15 times. So he's in a bit of a bind here, and I'm curious to see, I think, before they move forward on immigration and criticizing Biden, he's got some work to do in his own caucus in terms of forming that message.
He's going to get hit either way, and if he doesn't make a choice, he's going to get hit as well. Immigration is tough for a reason.
It's tough for a reason, and it's, look, I remember back in the Bush administration, for example, it seemed that Republicans at least were more unified on that messaging, and it seemed like they had it together more so, but now they have the perfect opportunity, but like you said, he's going to get hit either way. Yeah. Well, Rafael, as always, thank you for joining me here today, and we'll see you next time on What America's Thinking.